Congress is staring down a new deadline to keep the doors open and the lights on. Yesterday, President Biden signed a short-term funding bill into law just hours before the government was partially set to shut down. The stopgap measure simply kicks the can down the road again, funding some federal agencies until March 1st and the rest until March 8th. That leaves the House and Senate with only 6 working days to reach a deal on a long-term solution. But it might not be enough time for House Speaker Mike Johnson, who is struggling to get the hardliners in his party to make a compromise. The man's already grappling with a slim Republican majority and could soon face an even more contentious fight over a separate and forthcoming bipartisan Senate bill that would toughen immigration laws while providing aid to Ukraine. Some Senate Republicans are urging Johnson to accept the deal, but some hard-right Republicans are vehemently opposed to aid for Ukraine and say the Senate's immigration measures do not go far enough. Mind you, the Senate immigration bill has not yet been released. We don't know what's in it yet, for real. And there are even some who admit they just don't want to give President Biden an election year win on the issue. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has already threatened to bring a motion to vacate the chair to strip Speaker Johnson of the gavel if he decides to bring the Senate-crafted bill to the House floor. So basically, it's messy. Joining me now, Congresswoman Becca Balint of Vermont, member of the House Budget Committee. Congresswoman, as always, thank you very much for coming to the show. Come March 1st.
Always happy to chat with you.
Great. So come March 1st, will Congress be forced to kick the can down the road yet again?
I fear that that's what will happen, because you've got a situation right now where the members of the House Freedom Caucus do not seem to understand that what they have right now is what I'm calling a little Mino, a majority in name only. They're hanging on to their majority by a thread. And so, but they're still under this delusion that somehow they get to control the narrative. They get to control the order of how things go. They don't have the votes. And so in order for us to pass the CR the other day, who had to come through in a big way? The Democrats, once again. And we've seen this pattern all year. Started in chaos with the fight over the speaker, and then the default crisis, and then the government shutdown crisis. And here we are again, giving groundhogs a bad name once again. And, you know, I was shocked by something I saw Bob Good say, Virginia Republican, who he said, I want to make sure I get this right. It's a loss for the American people to join hands with Democrats to form a governing coalition. There you have it. The only way they can pass anything is to partner with Democrats. And he's saying keeping the government open is a loss for the American people. That's where we are.
Wow. Well, let me throw something else out there, another wow, and see if it's wow to you. The second government funding deadline is March 8th, the day after President Biden is scheduled to give the State of the Union address, and 2 days after Super Tuesday, when Donald Trump could have the Republican presidential nomination wrapped up. How will all that affect the dynamics around budget negotiations?
Well, here's the thing. The president and the Democrats, both in the House and the Senate, are going to continue to show up as the adults in the room. It's what we've seen all year. Of course, there's always going to be drama. There's always going to be the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, the Chip Roys trying to, blow things up. But in the end, we have a job to do, and that's to keep government functioning. Lots of regular Americans who sent us here to Washington to get things done are counting us to do that. We're going to continue to do that. And Speaker Johnson, I think, does understand that he needs us. He has hinted as much in comments to the press when they get him to comment on Marjorie Taylor Greene or Chip Roy. He continues to say, we have the smallest majority in congressional history, and we've been the most unsuccessful Congress in congressional history as well. So he knows the deal. He has to work with us. And our leader, Hakeem Jeffries, has been a tremendous leader in holding our caucus together, and I expect that's going to continue to happen.
All right, let me squeeze in one more question before I have to let you go. There's the right wing is already coming for Speaker Johnson. Steve Bannon has already said, he's done everything McCarthy's done to me. He's got to go. He's finished. He's proven his weakness. Politico is reporting that Democrats are floating the idea of helping Johnson to keep his speakership if he brings the Senate's Ukraine and immigration deal to the House floor, which is something that Marjorie Taylor Greene said that she would totally file a motion to vacate if he did that. Would you support that? Would Democrats once again come to Speaker Johnson's rescue, not over keeping the government open, but in keeping the gavel in his hands?
Well, here's the situation that we can't afford to have another 3 weeks of chaos with the Republicans not able to put forward someone who can piece together a majority. We just don't have that kind of time. We wasted a year. I mean, here we are, right? We're in January. We don't have a budget. We don't have funding for Ukraine. We do not have a sense of what kind of package we can get on the border. And these are not serious people. And so for Marjorie Taylor Greene, to be pushing this forward, it's simply an indication that she understands that she lost her power. She had a bigger mouthpiece when McCarthy was in that position, and Johnson just doesn't need her in the same way that McCarthy needed her or thought he needed her.